There is a lot of things that come into my mind. One thing is us being a mixed family, that makes it a little bit more difficult. Because I get my kids every other week. That's of course court order, stuff like that. So of course when they come over, I feel like that's the time I got to spend time with them. I got to spend all my time because I only see them so often, right? But it is true that the first thing that Jackie told me when we first met was that she doesn't want all these things. Like, she doesn't want, I don't want this, I don't want a big house, I don't want none of that. She was like, it's the little things. It's the little things that count. And until now, it's actually, sometimes I kick myself in the butt because I go beyond those small things. And in reality, it's just that small thing, that all that she wants. So, I mean, there's just a lot of things that you guys got to take into mind. It could be, especially with us as a mixed family, her main thing is like our kids, my kids, her kids, to feel the same way about each other as they do their own parents. So it's like, okay, like, you know what, I see you do things with your daughter, and I do things with my daughter, but also take into consideration to do that to my stepdaughter, which I still consider my daughter. And that's the things that you guys have to understand, is that there's always a small thing that she's looking for, right? And it's not always the big thing.
And I think blended relationship is so common in our generation, in our culture today, that you have to, I think that the person that has their kids has to really make an effort to make them feel like his kids or her kids. Because let's face it, women, men, depending on the situation that you're in, like I said, anybody can have kids. But it takes a real person, man, woman, to raise them. And so even sometimes when they're not the actual father, the actual mother, sometimes they do a heck of a better job than the real person. And so you try to give that credit where credit is due. I think you go to Ruben, have something back to that? Okay, Ruben, I want to ask you, how did you do, Ruben? How have you dealt these 10 years? I mean, I know, you've been praying for a woman and the Lord has placed one in your life, but you obviously have a lot of time with your kids. How do you think that's going to change, or what do you expect, or what's going on there with that?
Well, since I've been a single parent for the past 10 years, my kids have learned what I like and what I love to do. And it is so awesome that they know that I'm in a relationship now and ask her to marry me. My kids are, go for it, Dad, go for it, let's do it, let's do this. They're more supportive of me doing it than I'm all scared, like, should I?
Okay, I'm going to stop right there. Do you know why his kids are supportive? Because he is supportive of his kids. You reap what you sow. And a lot of people say, I want to go on to the relationship, but my kids won't let me. Why? Because you have not spent the time with them. Spend the time with them and then they'll want to share with you. If you don't, it works backward. Keep on, what were you saying?
Yeah, so it's crazy because I'm like, shouldn't I? And I'm thinking about my kids. Of course, I've always spent my time with my kids. But it's weird how they see me like, Dad, no, Dad, I want for you to get married. I want for you to be happy. Of course, I'm happy. I have them. And I try and do everything that I can with them. But as being a single parent, and I'm talking to all single parents, you think your kid's your priority, your kid's priority. That is correct. But it gets to a point that you need time to yourself. And it's not that you're being mean to your kids, but you've given them all the attention they need. Now you need to take care of yourself.
Personal time.
So
that's a great one. Go ahead.
Pastor, I often say this, I call it the airline rule. And anybody who's flown, even when you fly with kids, the stewardess or the steward will come in and they'll say, sir, if we lose cabin pressure, put your mask on first, then help your children. So let's not get this backwards. If you cannot take care of yourself, you cannot take care of others.
Wow, ain't that good? That's good stuff. That is good. That's awesome. And I'm telling you, our priorities and our families right now are so out of whack right now. You got spouse, kids, job, it's all over the place. Maybe that's something that we need to reteach to everyone here, for all of us. Now, I'm gonna say this, and Jeremy, whoever wants to answer, I think this is a very, very, very tough question, but a good one. Same-sex friends. Okay? When is it okay? When is it not? Jealousy always wins, or can win, and then is there not enough trust? You deal with a lot of, professionals. You, same with, Rudy, you're dealing with a lot of face-to-face. Everybody here deals with the opposite sex, for the most part. How do you deal with that in the relationship? Is that a problem? Is that an issue? How do you reassure? Somebody that likes to share their point on that.
I will, because obviously being a finance manager, I work with like 70-something men.
Wow.
And I think I am one of the only female finance managers out of our 7 stores. So that's very tough for me because without trust, there's no way that I can go to work. There's absolutely no way. One for him, because the last thing I would ever want is to walk out that door and him have any kind of negative feeling or any kind of negative thought about me going to work. Another thing is I am there 13 hours a day. It's not like I'm gone for 3 hours and then he gets to see me. No, I'm out the door in the morning and he does not see me till 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, whatever time my last customer leaves. So for that thing is you have to know women your boundaries too. You've got to know how to dress to work. You have got to know how to act. You have got to know what you can and cannot say around coworkers like that. You know, one, because you have to respect the fact that they have a wife. How would their wife, would you act the same way if their wife was sitting right next to them? That's the first thing you should always think of. Would you act the same way if your husband was sitting right next to you? Very tough. We personally had an issue, you know, kind of like that, you know, where you're always going to know. You know, I always tell people, your gut instinct will tell you whether there's a bad seed, a good seed, you know, you're just going to know. If with him, with women, I laugh because I always just say, take them. No, I'm just saying. No, I always just tell myself, you know what, my husband, I know he walks the right path right now, and I trust 100% that the God in him is going to tell him that he needs to focus. You know what I'm saying? Are they gonna look at girls? They're gonna look at girls. I mean, women don't be like, oh my God, look at a girl. You know? No. I mean, I'm sorry, but if there's a big old buck guy next to me, I'm gonna be like, I have one eye open and another eye on me. I'm just saying, no, but there's that trust. You know what I'm saying? You've got to build that trust. And of course, it's gonna be, we have to battle that. I'm not gonna say we went in like, oh my God, I trust 100%. No, that trust had to be earned 100% for you to be able to even go out there and say, are women gonna be jealous? Yes. Are men gonna be jealous? Yes. It's what you do and how you act off of that jealousy. Are you gonna assume crazy stuff? You might, may not, but you need to remember to say something.
No, I think that's a very good point, but for me, I'll tell you, that was kind of a struggle, and I'll tell you why, because my personality is, I just love people, and I always like to joke around. Let's not forget that jokes are taken a certain way, so what I found to stop that is, one, there's no jokes, and definitely never any joking when it comes to my wife, especially in the operating room or anything like that, because they get a sense that, oh, well, this is the way you perceive your wife. Wow. Those people, including the men in there, will tell you how I uplift my wife even when she's not there. That sets 2 tones. One, they know the love that I have for my wife, and they also understand the respect that I have for her and for myself, and in addition to everybody in the room. And I brought it up to a couple of people where they've done that to their own wife, and I said, whoa, wait a minute. You can do that in another operating room, but please don't do that in mine. Because she wouldn't appreciate that. That's not the right thing to do. And that really kind of sets the standard. Set the standard. But I'll be honest with you, that is something I had to learn. You know, and same thing, don't let, sometimes our best asset becomes our worst enemy, which is, I'm a touchy-feely kind of guy, but not in that way. So if you come up to here, that could send a message that's not right. So every time I'm in, I consciously have to think about it. Don't go in thinking, well, I'm going to be okay. No. There's minds out there, and if you don't walk out there with your mind being set the way it's supposed to be, you will fall, guaranteed.
Wow, go ahead.
So one of the things I do too, because I work a lot with both females and males on a daily basis, is I always uplift them as well, and I think that's important to make sure you're uplifting each other. Having an open door policy, so I know he can come to my job at any time. My phone is always open, available for him to, if he wants to answer the phone. My kids are, can look at the text. It doesn't matter because I'm not hiding anything. And I think that's important to make sure that trust is there, because for that, transparency is huge in any marriage. And if you have that, because it's hard, we live in Harlingen, he works in McAllen, and one thing we are is away from each other a lot. But as long as you come at the end of the day and know that those 4 eyeballs that look at us at the end of the day is the reason why we work so hard on ourselves and each other. I think that is really key in any relationship.
Wow. Go ahead, Shasta.
I guess I have a little bit different twist from both of them because Rudy and I really don't struggle with a jealousy or the same or opposite sex thing. I've always been one to have a lot of guy friends. As I'm one of the guys. Not really girly. This is awesome today. So, but I will say, really seriously, you have to be an individual first. And in a relationship, if you're getting married or dating someone to complete you for yourself as a person, you're going in it about the wrong way from the beginning. You have to be two individuals before you become a husband and wife. Both of but we're very transparent. Our phones are actually the same, so I pick up his, he picks up mine. No big deal, but we're individuals. That means when I'm out dancing, because I teach dancing, I'm gone from 5 in the morning till 10:30 p.m. and he cooks. It's not about like, I wonder where she is, if she's dancing, or he's doing his thing, I'm doing mine. But like I said, we look forward to our Friday night that we get together. So it's not, what is he doing, what is she doing? And we say this all the time. Men or women, if you're in a relationship, you're having that jealousy, I'm going to ask you, and I don't mean this ugly, I'm going to tell you to get a life. Because an idol's mind is a devil's workshop. And while you're sitting around thinking about what your other spouse could be doing, you could be doing something to uplift yourself and be a betterment for your spouse to appreciate.
Wow. Jealousy is such a factor in a lot of relationships. You heard Mike's testimony. I was a jealous beast with my wife. The Lord delivered me from that. Thank the Lord for that. But I'm going to ask a general question here, whoever would like to interject. Finances. It ruins marriages when not done right. Give me, because people say, well, Pastor, we have separate checking accounts, and that's the best way to do it. And people want me to go with that. No, it's whatever works for you. Or what works for you all financially. So anybody that'd like to interject with that. Finances is a beast.
Well, for ours was kind of a different perspective. We going through the whole process of getting to where we are is a big investment. And I'll be honest with you, it was, I didn't make that much as a resident, especially as we didn't work it per hour. And, then my wife was a medical student, and so we were just living on whatever we could. And then you come out and you start making this money, but you understand that when you're making the money, you also have that investment that you have to pay back. And so one of the things that's very difficult that was difficult for us and for me is at the end you realize I went 18 years. Yeah, I went 18 years. Y'all heard it. 1990 is when I graduated high school, and I finished in 2008. That's 18 years consecutive, not like I took a break or anything. But that was a $200,000 investment on my end. So I'll tell you, that comes out to $3,500 a month on student loan that I paid. So that had to be paid back. But at the end of 18 years, you figure, wow, wait a minute, I'm entitled to something. Entitlement? No, you're not. You're entitled to pay those bills back. Wow. And I'll tell you, she is awesome with it. I will tell you, and I have, for the private practice, same thing. I still kind of have that account, but she knows and she pretty much runs the show when it comes to finances. I like it that way. That's what works for us. But when I say runs the show, that does not mean that I don't know what's going on, guys. You have to. If you don't know, that's wrong. You should know. That's called communicating. You should be in the dark when it comes to your finances. Same with the women. I know there's a lot of men in here who will say, well, my dad took care of all the finances, my mom didn't know anything. And then all of a sudden, people came to the door and said, sir, you're losing your house and your mom has to get out of the house. Wait a minute. No, you have to be able to be in tune with that as well. So for us, we communicate just like everything else and just kind of do it that way.
That's a great point. Anybody want to share on that side over there? Or?
I think that's a real good point that Manny said, because I'll be honest with you, like with me, of course, we're in a different kind of field, so she does make more money than I do. But at that time, I was in the dark. I was the one like, okay, she'll take care of the bills and I don't worry about it. But little time just kept going and going and going until finally, I didn't know what was being paid. I didn't even know, the electricity was under my name, and I don't even know how much it was a month. She would just take care of it. But she kept pointing and pointing and pointing, hey, this and that, this and this, this and this, this and this, and this and this. What I'm trying to say is that don't be in the dark, because the little points that she was just trying to tell me, hey, it was something that was making it count for her, like, you know, I want you to know what's going on, like, you know, this is that.